Captain Felix Ravenwood had made many risky choices in his life, but standing at the edge of Terminus Market on Galaxy's Edge Station, he was about to make the biggest gamble yet. The massive marketplace buzzed with activity as traders from across the galaxy shouted their deals. Holographic signs flickered overhead, advertising everything imaginable. But Felix's eyes were locked on one thing: Platform 93, where the most dangerous auction of the year was about to begin. The weight of 5 years Felix checked his credit chip again. 27,000 credits. It represented 5 long years of hauling cargo between inner colonies and dangerous frontier worlds. Every close call with pirates, every sleepless night fixing engine problems, every missed holiday spent alone in space had led to this moment. His weathered coat flapped in the artificial wind as he moved closer to the auction platform. Partner's warning. You're seriously considering this madness? Konstantin Vulov appeared beside him, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on the auction stage. The burly Russian had been Felix's mechanic and partner for 3 years, and right now his face showed pure concern. Hybrids are unstable, Felix. Everyone knows this. Felix knew Konstantin was right to worry. The stories about hybrids were legendary and terrifying. These genetically engineered beings were created 50 years ago during the brutal colonial wars. Scientists had combined human DNA with alien species to make super soldiers. When peace finally came, the government promised to decommission all hybrids. Instead, they were sold like property. Now they worked as slaves, guards, or worse. The dark history, remember Captain Brennan? Konstantin pressed on, taking a swig from his flask. He bought a wolf hybrid 3 months ago. They found him frozen solid in his cargo hold. The hybrid vanished along with everything valuable on his ship. Felix had heard the story. Everyone in the trader community had. But he'd also done his homework. Brennan was a fool who treated his hybrid like a mindless animal. I've studied these beings for months, Constantine. They're intelligent and misunderstood. The auction begins. The Salvani auctioneer stepped onto the platform, his crystalline skin reflecting the neon lights of the market. The crowd pressed forward as the first lots were presented. A cat hybrid with lightning-fast reflexes sold for 40,000 credits to a mining company. A massive bear hybrid, covered in scars from years of fighting, went for 60,000 to a security corporation. Felix watched carefully as prices climbed higher and higher. His budget was modest compared to the wealthy corporations bidding around him. But he waited patiently, knowing that sometimes the best opportunities came when others were afraid. She appeared, and everything changed. A figure was led onto the platform, and the entire market fell silent. She stood nearly 6 feet tall, her humanoid form covered in scales that shifted colors from deep emerald to midnight blue as she moved. Her wings, currently bound with glowing energy restraints, were folded against her back. Small horns curved back from her temples, and her eyes burned like golden flames. Felix felt his breath catch. She was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. Her face was beautiful in an otherworldly way, with high cheekbones and features that were almost human, but not quite. When she opened her mouth slightly, Felix could see sharp fangs. But what struck him most was her expression. While other hybrids looked broken or angry, she seemed almost amused, as if she knew a secret that no one else did. The shocking price, lot 479, the auctioneer announced, his voice carrying across the silent market. Dragon hybrid female, designation Scarlet Seven-Seven, age approximately 25 standard years. Previous owner deceased under mysterious circumstances. He paused dramatically. Starting bid at 5,000 credits. The market erupted in shocked whispers. 5,000 credits for a dragon hybrid? These rare beings usually sold for 10 times that amount. But the words, previous owner deceased, had clearly frightened away the big bidders. Nobody wanted to end up like her last owner. Got the leap of faith. Felix didn't hesitate. His hand shot up with his bidding paddle. The auctioneer's crystalline face showed surprise. 5,000 to the human in the brown coat. Do I hear 6? Silence. The crowd had backed away from this particular lot. 5,000 going once, twice, . The auctioneer's hammer came down. Sold to Captain Felix Ravenwood. Constantine grabbed Felix's arm hard enough to hurt. A dragon hybrid whose owner died mysteriously? Have you completely lost your mind? Felix pulled away and headed to the payment terminal. Maybe, he admitted. But did you see her eyes, Constantine? That's not a mindless beast. There's real intelligence there. Real awareness. Intelligence can be more dangerous than instinct, Constantine warned. But he followed anyway, muttering curses in Russian. First, contact the transfer station was a cold, sterile white room where ownership changed hands. The dragon hybrid stood in the center, energy shackles glowing on her wrists and ankles. Up close, Felix could see details he'd missed before. Her scales weren't decorative. They were actual armor, perfectly formed and overlapping like chainmail. Her fingers ended in retractable claws, currently extended about half an inch. She moved with a grace that spoke of incredible power held in check. Captain Ravenwood, she said, and her voice was like smoke and honey. I wondered who would be brave or foolish enough to purchase me. Felix stopped in his tracks. Most hybrids were conditioned to stay silent unless given permission to speak. You know my name? Those golden eyes studied him with unsettling intensity. I know many things, Captain. The question is whether you're prepared for what you've bought. The Salvani clerk handed Felix a control pad, its screen glowing with options to activate pain compliance, movement restriction, or complete neural shutdown. The hybrid is now your property, Captain. Please be aware that Terminus Station bears no responsibility for any injuries, deaths, or property damage resulting from this purchase. Constantine's hand moved to the pulse pistol at his hip as he watched the dragon hybrid carefully. Felix, be smart about this. Felix looked at the control pad, then at Scarlet Seven-Seven. Something about the designation bothered him. These beings weren't just numbers. They were living, thinking creatures. He made a split-second decision that would change everything. His thumb moved across the controls, and the energy shackles dissolved into nothing. Scarlet stretched her wings for the first time in who knew how long. The span was enormous, easily 12 feet from tip to tip. Several people in the transfer station immediately backed toward the exits. One woman screamed. Security guards reached for their weapons, but Scarlet simply folded her wings neatly against her back and bowed her head slightly to Felix. Thank you, Captain. It's been 3 months since I could stretch properly. Her golden eyes met his. Shall we discuss terms? Terms? Felix asked, genuinely curious despite Constantine's alarmed expression. You're a hybrid. The law says you're property. The law says I'm property, Scarlet interrupted smoothly. But we both know that's a convenient fiction. I could kill everyone in this room in under 30 seconds if I chose to. The fact that I haven't suggests I have my own agenda, doesn't it? Constantine's cybernetic eye spun wildly, running threat calculations. Felix, we should put the restraints back on, now. No, Felix said, never taking his eyes off Scarlet. Let's hear what she has to say. But not here. My ship? Scarlet smiled, revealing those impressive fangs fully. Lead the way, Captain. Walking through Terminus Station with an unrestrained dragon hybrid was like walking through a minefield. Every person they passed stopped and stared. Mothers pulled their children close. Traders closed their shop windows. A group of heavily armed security guards followed them at a distance, weapons drawn but not yet aimed. Felix kept his pace steady and confident. Showing fear now would be a mistake. Beside him, Scarlet walked with her head high, her wings folded but clearly visible. She seemed to enjoy the attention, a slight smile playing at her lips. "You're making quite the statement," Constantine muttered from Felix's other side. "Good," Felix replied. "Let them see that hybrids don't have to be chained and terrified." The Midnight Wanderer sat in docking bay 47. She wasn't beautiful by any standard. The hull showed signs of countless repairs. The paint was faded. But she was fast, reliable, and had hidden modifications that made her perfect for a trader who sometimes bent the rules. Once aboard, Scarlet looked around the common area with obvious interest. Her eyes took in every detail. Corellian manufacturer, but with Nexus 7 engine modifications. Hidden weapon systems in the cargo bay. And unless I'm mistaken, military-grade shields disguised as standard deflectors. She turned to Felix. "You're not just a simple trader, are you, Captain?" Felix exchanged glances with Constantine. "You know ships. I know many things, as I said." Scarlet settled into a chair, her wings adjusting automatically for comfort. "Now, shall we discuss why you really bought me?" "I bought you because I believe hybrids are undervalued assets," Felix began. "Your abilities—" "Please," Scarlet interrupted, waving a clawed hand dismissively. "You bought me because you're desperate. I can smell it on you. Not desperate for money, though that's part of it. Desperate for something more. Purpose, perhaps? Or are you running from something?" Felix felt his jaw tighten. "That's none of your business." "Everything about you is my business now, Captain," Scarlet said, her golden eyes flashing. "You own me, remember? That makes your survival my survival. Your enemies my enemies. Your secrets." She paused, smiling slightly. "Well, those are just interesting." Constantine leaned forward. "What happened to your previous owner?" "The truth." Scarlet turned those unsettling eyes on him. "Harrison Graves was a fool who thought he could use me to intimidate his business rivals. He tried to force me to kill a competitor. I refused. He attempted to use the neural conditioning all hybrids are supposedly implanted with." She tapped her temple with one claw. "Mine was removed years ago. When his remote caused nothing but static, he pulled a weapon. I defended myself. I broke his wrist and threw him into a stasis pod. The authorities found him 3 days later, very much alive, but babbling about dragon curses and hybrid revolution. They declared him mentally unfit and sold me to recoup his debts." Felix felt a chill. "And the owner before that?" "Died of natural causes. A heart attack brought on by years of stimulant abuse. Though the timing was convenient, as he just discovered something he shouldn't have and was planning to sell me to some very unpleasant people." Felix leaned forward, his interest fully captured now. "What did he discover?" Scarlet studied him for a long moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. "How much do you know about the hybrid program, Captain?" "The real program, not the sanitized version they teach in schools." "I know the basics," Felix replied. "Genetic engineering to create super soldiers. Combined human DNA with alien species. The program was shut down after the colonial wars ended." "The program was never shut down," Scarlet said quietly, and the room suddenly felt colder. "It was hidden, moved to black sites in the outer reaches. And they didn't just create soldiers, Captain. They were trying to create something much more ambitious." Constantine had moved away from his weapons, curiosity overcoming caution. "Such as?" "Evolution," Scarlet said simply. "The next step in human development. Beings who could survive in any environment, adapt to any threat, interface with any technology." She spread her wings slightly, the scales catching the light. "I'm not just a hybrid, Captain. I'm a prototype for what they called Project Ascension." Felix felt his pulse quicken. This was bigger than he'd imagined. And you have proof of this? Better than proof, Scarlet replied, her eyes glowing brighter. I have the location of Research Station Omega, where the project was based. It was abandoned 15 years ago when the funding was cut, but the research is still there. The genetic templates, the enhancement procedures, everything. Constantine's practical mind immediately saw the problem. If this research is so valuable, why hasn't anyone claimed it? Because everyone who knew about it is either dead or has a vested interest in keeping it secret, Scarlet explained. The current government would face revolution if people knew they'd been experimenting on citizens. The corporations who funded it would lose trillions in lawsuits. And the crime syndicates who've been hunting the surviving prototypes would kill to keep their human trafficking operations from being exposed. Felix stood and began pacing, his mind racing through possibilities and dangers. So you're telling me you know the location of a secret research station containing technology that could revolutionize human evolution. And you're willing to share this information with me because you're nobody, Scarlet said bluntly. No offense intended, Captain, but you're a small-time trader with no political connections, no corporate backing, and no syndicate affiliations. You're exactly the kind of person who could expose this without being immediately silenced. Constantine took a long drink from his flask. Or we could sell the information and retire rich. Scarlet's expression darkened, her scales shifting to deeper, angrier colors. And allow the technology to be buried or weaponized. No, there are 1,200 registered hybrids in the galaxy, Captain, and thousands more in hiding. We're treated as property, hunted as monsters, or used as weapons. That research could prove we're not aberrations. We're the future. Felix stopped pacing and looked at her. Really looked at her. Beyond the scales and wings and inhuman features, he saw something he recognized. The same thing he'd felt since leaving the Colonial Defense Force 5 years ago. A need for purpose. For something that mattered. How far is this station? He asked. Scarlet's eyes brightened with hope. 3 jump points into the Forbidden Zone. Constantine choked on his drink. The Forbidden Zone? Where ships disappear and navigation systems go insane. That Forbidden Zone? The adventure was just beginning. The navigation problems are artificial, Scarlet explained calmly, as if discussing the weather rather than one of the most dangerous regions in known space. The station's automated defenses create interference to keep people away. But I know the safe passage routes. My creator programmed them into my memory before he died. Felix felt something stir in his chest. Not fear, but excitement. Your creator? Dr. Alexei Petrov, the lead geneticist on Project Ascension. Scarlet's voice softened with genuine emotion. He was the man who gave me consciousness beyond the basic hybrid programming. He tried to protect us when the project was shut down. They killed him for it. The room fell silent. Constantine broke it with a heavy sigh. So we're talking about flying into a death trap to retrieve research that powerful people want to stay hidden, based on the word of a hybrid we just met. And we'll be hunted by the government, corporations, and crime syndicates if we succeed. Yes, Felix said simply. Constantine stared at him for a long moment, then stood up. I'll prep the ship for a long-range jump. Full supplies, maximum fuel. You're completely insane, but I've followed you this far. He headed toward the engine room, muttering about crazy captains and dragon women. Felix turned back to Scarlet. If you're lying to me about any of this, I'm not, she interrupted firmly. But, Captain, there's something else you should know. We won't be the only ones looking for the station. Felix's stomach dropped. What do you mean? 3 days ago, I intercepted a transmission while still with my previous owner. Someone else knows about Omega Station. A woman named Director Helena Cross. She used to oversee the hybrid program's military applications during the wars. And she wants the research, Felix guessed. She wants to restart the program. Scarlet corrected, her claws extending unconsciously. But not to create evolution. She wants to create an army. Hybrids designed for absolute obedience, with no free will. No consciousness beyond following orders. Slavery, Felix said darkly. Understanding the implications. Worse than slavery, Scarlet replied. At least slaves know they're enslaved. These would be biological machines, programmed to think they're happy serving. She's already captured 3 of the surviving prototypes. If she gets the Omega research, she'll have everything she needs. The ship's engines hummed to life, the vibration running through the deck plates. Constantine's voice crackled over the intercom. Ready for jump when you are, Captain. Though I still think this is the definition of insanity. Felix looked at Scarlet, studying her face. Is there anything else I should know? Any other surprises? She tilted her head, considering. Well, I can interface directly with most computer systems through bioelectric manipulation. I can survive in the vacuum of space for approximately 15 minutes. My fire breath isn't actually fire, but superheated plasma that can melt through 6 inches of reinforced steel. And I haven't been entirely honest about my age. How old are you really? 7 years since activation. But I have the uploaded memories and knowledge of Dr. Petrov. So technically, I'm 93. Felix couldn't help but laugh, despite the tension. Anything else? I like classical music. Earth origin, specifically. I find human food fascinating, even though I can survive on solar radiation alone. And despite my appearance, I've never actually killed anyone, though I've come close several times. Good to know, Felix said, moving toward the bridge. Let's go find your research station, Constantine. Set course for the Forbidden Zone. The first jump took them to the Meridian System, a collection of mining colonies on the edge of regulated space. They needed to refuel and gather supplies before the real journey began. Felix also needed information about Cross and her movements. He left Constantine with the ship and took Scarlet to the station's lower levels, where the black market thrived. He used a holographic projector on her collar to create the illusion of energy shackles, and Scarlet played her part perfectly. She hunched her shoulders, lowered her eyes, and shuffled her feet. The transformation was disturbingly convincing. The broken circuit was a bar that catered to smugglers, bounty hunters, and information brokers. The moment Felix walked in with Scarlet, every conversation stopped. The bartender, a scarred man named Walsh, approached their corner booth with obvious caution. Brave of you, bringing that thing in here, Walsh said. Or stupid. I'm looking for information, Felix replied, sliding a credit chip across the table. About unusual ship movements in the Forbidden Zone. Walsh pocketed the chip without checking the amount. There's been chatter. 3 heavy cruisers passed through here 2 days ago. Military grade, but no official markings. They were asking the same questions you are. Did they say who they were working for? Scarlet asked, her voice meek but clear. Walsh's eyes flicked to her in surprise. It talks. She's highly intelligent, Felix said carefully, and very valuable to me. I bet, Walsh said with an unpleasant smile. Dragon hybrids are worth a fortune to the right buyers. I could arrange. She's not for sale, Felix said firmly. Walsh leaned back, reading Felix's determination. Fine. To answer your pet's question, they didn't give names. But one of them had a corporate tattoo. Nexus Dynamics. Felix felt Scarlet tense beside him. Nexus Dynamics was one of the largest military contractors in human space. If they were involved, this was even bigger than he'd thought. There's more, Walsh continued. They hired a guide. Someone who claimed to know safe passage through the Forbidden Zone. A hybrid. Hawk type. Goes by the name Talon. Walsh's expression darkened. Killed 2 of my regulars 3 months back. Said they were harassing him, but witnesses say he just snapped. Typical hybrid instability. Scarlet's hand moved slightly under the table. Felix caught her wrist, feeling the tension in her muscles. She was holding herself back with visible effort. "Where can we find this Talon?" Felix asked. "You can't. He left with those cruisers yesterday." Walsh stood up. "Word of advice, Ravenwood. Whatever you're planning, forget it. The Forbidden Zone doesn't give back what it takes." After they left the bar, Scarlet was silent until they reached the station's main corridor. When she finally spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. "Talon is another prototype. We were in the same activation batch. If he's helping Cross, she must have something on him." "Like what?" Felix asked gently. "His mate. A human woman he pair-bonded with. It's rare, but some hybrids form permanent emotional connections. If Cross has her, Talon will do anything to get her back." Scarlet's golden eyes met Felix's, "including leading Cross to the station where we can all be." Killed, they returned to the Midnight Wanderer to find Constantine in an animated discussion with someone on the communication screen. The image showed a young woman with bright purple hair and cybernetic implants covering half her face. "Felix," Constantine called out urgently, "you need to hear this." The woman on the screen turned to look at Felix. "Captain Ravenwood. Unpixel. I'm a data broker, and I have information you need to hear." "I'm listening," Felix said cautiously. "Someone's put a bounty on your new hybrid. 50,000 credits. Alive only. It went live an hour ago." Felix glanced at Scarlet, who seemed unsurprised. "Who posted it?" "That's the interesting part. It's anonymous, but I traced the payment source. It came from a government black account. Someone in the intelligence services wants your dragon very badly." "They know," Scarlet said simply. "Cross must have contacts in the government. They know I have the location." Pixel leaned closer to her camera. "There's more. 3 bounty hunter crews have already taken the job. They're tracking your ship's signature. You've got maybe 6 hours before they catch up." "Can you mask our signature?" Felix asked. "For a price," Pixel replied. 10,000 credits, and I'll give you a ghost program that'll make you invisible to standard tracking for 72 hours. It was highway robbery, but Felix didn't have a choice. He transferred the credits. Pixel sent the program, and Constantine immediately began installing it. "We need to leave now," Felix said. "Plot a course for the Forbidden Zone, maximum speed." "Captain," Scarlet said quietly, "there's something I should tell you. The station's defenses won't recognize me as authorized. Dr. Petrov died before he could add my biometric signature to the system." Constantine stopped his work and turned around slowly. "So we'll be walking into a defended position that will try to kill us. Wonderful. I can hack the system once we're close enough," Scarlet explained. "But it means surviving the automated defenses long enough to get in range." Felix rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. "Any other surprises you'd like to share?" Scarlet hesitated, then spoke. "I wasn't the only prototype who escaped when the project was shut down. There were 5 of us. I know where 3 are now. Talon with Cross, and 2 others who went into hiding. But the 5th..." She paused. "She disappeared completely." "She?" Felix asked, not liking the tone in Scarlet's voice. "Subject 0, the first successful prototype. A wolf-dragon hybrid with abilities that surpassed all projections. Dr. Petrov called her his masterpiece, but she was also unstable, violent. If she's out there somewhere..." "One crisis at a time," Felix decided firmly. "Let's focus on getting to the station alive. Constantine, how long until we can launch?" 2 hours, Constantine replied. "I need to finish installing Pixel's ghost program and run a full systems check. We're going into the most dangerous region of space. I'd rather not have an engine failure halfway through. Those 2 hours were tense. Felix spent them reviewing every piece of information he had about the Forbidden Zone, though most of it was rumors and horror stories. Ships that vanished without a trace. Navigation systems that went haywire. Crews that went insane. The region had been quarantined 50 years ago. After a deep space survey, Mission disappeared. Scarlet spent the time in the ship's small library, reading everything she could find about current hybrid rights movements and legal precedents. She was planning for after they survived. Assuming they survived, Constantine performed his maintenance checks with the thoroughness of a man who knew their lives depended on every system working perfectly. Finally, they were ready. Felix sat in the captain's chair, Constantine at the engineering station, and Scarlet in the co-pilot's seat. Her wings were folded tightly against her back to fit in the space. "Last chance to back out," Felix said to both of them. "And miss all this fun?" Constantine replied dryly. "Never." Scarlet simply smiled, her golden eyes bright with determination. "Let's go make history, Captain." Felix engaged the engines. The Midnight Wanderer lifted off from Meridian Station, using Pixel's ghost program to slip past security unnoticed. They jumped to hyperspace, heading for the edge of the Forbidden Zone, and whatever dangers waited there dot behind them. 3 bounty hunter ships changed course to follow. And ahead of them, Director Helena Cross's heavy cruisers were already entering the nightmare region of space. Guided by a broken prototype who had no choice but to betray his own kind, the race for the future of hybrid kind had begun. And Felix Ravenwood found himself at the center of it, partnered with a dragon hybrid who was so much more than he'd ever imagined.